Welcome class back to chapter 7, user input and while loops. This is the second video. In this video we are going to cover while loops, letting the user choose when to quit, using a flag, and then we're going to look at the break and continue statements along with looking at avoiding infinite loops. So what is the difference between a for loop and a while loop? So the for loop takes a collection of items, and we saw that in our experience in previous chapters, where we either look at a list or a dictionary, and we use the for loop to run through that list or dictionary. So executing a block of code once for each item in that collection, again, list or dictionaries. In contrast, the while loop runs as long as or while a certain condition is true. So for loops, again, used to run through a collection of items, and while loops are used to execute as long as a condition is true. So in this example, we're looking at a condition of current number less than or equal to 5. Well, we start out with current number being 1. 1 is less than or equal to 5. We print that number out and then we add 1 to it. So now current number is 2. 2 is less than or equal to 5. Print it out, add another 1 to it. So now it's 3. Print it, add 4. Print it, add 5 is still less than or equal to 5. We print 5 out, and then we add 1 to it, and now 6 is not less than or equal to 5. So now we have a false situation, so now the while loop is exited. So this example is counting.py on page 118. So let's go ahead and execute this again. And we can do this one from Sublime because we have no input in this one. So we'll just build this one and we get the results as I step through in the slide. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once we hit 6, we go ahead and exit that loop. Okay, let's look at parrot.py. So we have parrot.py on the bottom of page 118 on top of page 119. So here we are prompting just like we did in our first section, and now we're going to test to see if they actually entered in the value of quit. Okay, so we want them to be able to exit out of this program when they want to exit out by entering in the string of quit. So let's go ahead and execute this first, and then we'll talk a little bit more in detail about it. So parrot_quit. So again, to execute from the terminal, we go Python and then the name of our file. If you forgot how to get to your directory that holds that, go ahead and review that again from from the first video for chapter 7. So tell me something and I will repeat it back to you. Enter quit to end the program. That is our prompt. So we're going to enter in something and repeat it back. I can keep doing that and it'll keep repeating it back. And then once I enter in quit, it exits me out of this. It also repeats back the word quit, and we'll deal with that here in a second. So I want to show you something that what happens if we remove message. So I'm just going to comment this line out because the next line here will compare message to quit. Okay, so let's save this and then execute. It says traceback error. Name message is not defined. So the first time that the while loop is executed in line 4, if we don't have just an empty string, and that's what that is here, if I put a comment in here, this is an empty string. If I don't assign something to message before I go ahead and test it against something in a while, I will get the result of a traceback error of saying name message is not defined. So it has to have some sort of value in message in order to compare it to quit. Okay? And then when it does compare it to quit, if it is quit, it's going to exit out. Because if message is not equal to quit, we keep prompting them and keep printing out their message. Once it is equal to quit, we exit out of our while loop. Try not to overthink that. So the issue here, I have a question down here, are there any issues? The issue is, and let me go ahead and make sure I save this so that I don't have that traceback error, is that when I enter in quit, it repeats it back. And we don't want it to repeat it back when they enter in quit, or if you could use the word, you could use the character just Q if you wanted to exit this out. So to solve that, we need to place in an if statement, and that if statement is on the bottom of page 119. So I'm going to go ahead and open up another program that I have with the if in it. So here is that if. If message is not equal to quit, we'll go ahead and print the message. So if they've typed hello, we can print it out. But once they type in quit, then we're not going to print out the message. So let me go ahead and execute this one so that you can see differently. So parent quit with if. So let me move this up here. Hello, hi, quit. So once we do quit, we are not going to print the message. Okay, because this if condition is only true if it is not quit. Using a flag. So there's multiple ways that we can test to see if we want to exit out of a loop or even get that loop to start executing. So what if many events could cause the program to stop running? Okay, so more than one condition could cause the event to stop or the while loop to stop running. So for a program that should only run as long as many conditions are true, you can define one variable that determines whether or not the entire program is active. And we call this variable a flag, and it's a signal that either going to have a value of true in it or a value of false in it. So let's look at our example, bottom of page 120. So this is my version called parrot_flag. So again, same prompt, we set up a variable or a flag. So we can look at this as a flag. Okay, that flag is set to true. While true, we're going to prompt, okay, so or input, so prompt them with this prompt message. And then if that message is equal to quit, we're going to set active to false, so now the while loop will be executed. If it is not quit, we just keep printing out the message, keep prompting them. So let's go ahead and run this one. I'll enter a few more in this time. Okay, and once I type in quit, quit should then set my flag to false, and I should exit out. Okay, and now back to my prompt. So again, multiple conditions that could set that while to be false is when we use a flag. Using break to exit a loop. Okay, so to exit a loop immediately without running any remaining code, regardless of the results of the conditional test, we use a break statement. So let's go ahead and look at cities.py, and you will see this code again. So cities again prompts over multiple lines. We're going to go ahead and enter in a city. Now instead of using a flag, a variable, this one just says while true. So if we input get the city, if city is equal to quit, we break. We get out, we're done. We're done with the while loop. If they don't enter and quit, we keep running the while loop. So let's go ahead and execute. Okay, so we can keep entering, and then once we do quit, we're out. Okay, so again, that is using a break statement to execute or to exit our loop immediately. And then we look at the continue statement. The continue statement is on page 122, and this is in counting.py. So I'm going to go ahead and open up counting.py. This is the first example we started off with, but I'm going to modify it to reflect page 122. So the condition is less than 10, and then we're going to increment our number right away. If current number modulo 2, so getting the remainder again, if that is equal to 0, we're going to skip it. Okay, so the continue statement is kind of like skip. It skips that particular iteration of the loop. Okay, so skips that iteration of the loop. Okay, and then we're going to print the current number otherwise. So current number starts out at 0. Is 0 less than 10? Yes. So now we're inside the while loop. We add 1 to 0. So now we have 1. Is 1 divided by 2 equal to 0? Well, 1 divided by 2 is 0, remainder 1. So we're going to skip that iteration. And then we're going to come back up, do another test. So now 1 less than 10, yes. Add another 1 to it, so it's now 2. 2 modulo 2 is 1 remainder 0. So now, actually, this is where I should have been before. So let me start that over. Okay, 0 less than 10, yes, add 1 to it. Is 1 modulo 2 equal to 0? No, it's not, because it has a remainder of 1. So this part right here is not executed. Then we jump to line 8. Then when the number is now 2, because we've incremented it by 1, so 1 less than 10, add 1 to it. 2 modulo 2 is 1 remainder 0. Now we skip that iteration. So let's go to number, so we come up here with 2. Is 2 less than 10? Yes. We add 1 to it. We got 3 now. 3 modulo 2 is 2 goes into 3 one time, remainder 1. Okay, so this condition is not true, so we jump to line 8. So it only happens when we have an even number. Okay, so let's go ahead and run counting.py. Oh, you know what? Oh, I didn't even type it in right. And I guess I wouldn't have to run it through this one. Sometimes I just... Okay, let's pull it up here. Counting.py. There's the results of it. I could have run it right over here too. There's no input. So, getting only our odd numbers. Because every time we have an even number, it's going to have a remainder of 0. And then we're going to skip that iteration, exits right out of this loop, comes back up here and does the next test. Okay, and when we get to the number 10, 10 is not less than 10, so then the while loop is exited. So let's talk about infinite loops. And let's see if Amy can create one, because so I can demonstrate that to you. So infinite loops means that the while condition is never evaluated to false. Control C to kill the terminal window when that happens. I'm not sure exactly how you would do it here in Sublime, but maybe we'll find out. So terminal window means this one. Okay, so let's see how we can make this not go right. So in line 3, I just changed that to decrement or subtract by 1. So if we have 0 and 0 is less than 10, now we take 0 and minus 1 from it. Now we have a negative 1. So negative 1 modulo 2, go through all that. Next time it's going to be 3 is a negative 2, then a negative 3, and so on. The condition here will never evaluate to false, so this is what we call an infinite loop. So let me go ahead and run that through the terminal over here. And there we go. It's crazy. So Control C to get you out of that when you're in the terminal. Now if I do it over here, I don't know how to get out of it. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of Sublime when that happens. So terminal window is Control C. I'm going to pull it back up. So make sure that when you're creating your loops that you're planning them out carefully and that you know specifically when that while will kill. Okay, so that you don't end up in a situation with an infinite loop. Okay, so page 123, 7-5, movie tickets. A movie theater charges different ticket prices depending on a person's age. If that person is under the age of 3, the ticket is free. If they're between 3 and 12, it's 10. If they're over age 12, it's 15. So think back in a previous chapter of where we were working with ages. So I think there was a lab that had to do with prices to an amusement park. So that's a great example to look at for 7-5 as far as the if tests are concerned. So we want to be able to prompt them for the user's age. Okay, so there's going to be that while in there, but you can go ahead and get your if structure from that. I think it was amusement park example. Okay, any questions on this particular section and run into any issues, just please let me know. Thank you.